biggest thing I was thinking about today is, Topeka and I were talking in one of these, and we were talking about the fact of what it's like to be born with a different dimension, an added dimension. And that's really what I curate for, or especially women who have this added dimension where they can walk into a room and command attention, and not command attention in a really noticeable way, but just walk in, even head down, and there's something about their field that moves people. There's a certain kind of influence or sway, and there's a certain way of knowing that you have that, and that no matter, even if like you don't feel beautiful that day, if you're 5 pounds overweight, you know that you can move something because you have a certain kind of energy. That kind of energy in science and neuroscience would really be called, it's called call. So there's the female gorilla when it goes into estrus. The female gorilla, when it goes into estrus, it sends out a signal that can draw the male gorilla 200 miles in order to mate. And women have this, but we have something very, very powerful, and that's called volitional estrus. So that same signal that a woman sends out when she's, pre-menstrual, she can actually grab hold of that signal and send it out. This is what I think you have. This is what I think I have. This is what I want every single woman on the planet to have. And I want them to have it for 2 reasons. One is your capacity. So it translates to your capacity to command a room, to command a space. And if anybody's seen Topeka speak, there is nobody's saying like, oh, could she do that? Topeka commands when she enters, even if it's quiet. That's a very important thing. It has nothing to do with how you present in the physical. So this, but it has to do with an ability to command. And we're in a time, my vision is get out of suffering, the causes of suffering, and help others get out of suffering. I think the greatest source of suffering is the invisibility of the inestimable power of women. And we know it less than anybody else at this point. And one of the biggest things I hear is, I couldn't find my voice. I couldn't come out. I couldn't express myself. I have these ideas, but I can't get out from behind this wall. And this ability, this capacity to work with call has to do with commanding attention. Because we'll go into that later. So that's one, command. But it also has to do with determining the sovereignty of your own space. So Virginia Woolf had said, a woman needs a room of her own if she's ever going to be creative. If she's ever going to be a writer, she needs a room of her own, which was a big deal at the time. I take that to mean metaphorically as well. We need a space of our own. But if you don't have command of call, this added dimension, you don't have the ability to hold your space. You don't have the ability to fend anything off. I heard this great description of Oprah where someone said, I was walking toward her and it felt like I hit a stone wall, because she had this field that was so strong, I couldn't penetrate it. And so what, in my vision, and this is much of the work that we're doing in terms of neuroscience, and how do you liberate this capacity? I do believe that some people are born, naturals. I think you're clearly a natural. But I think it's also important for women to see what's possible, to see that, oh no, I don't have to fawn, I don't have to supplicate, I don't have to play coy in order to attract someone. Actually, there's a way that I can do it by being precisely who I am. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think, we often talk about the fact that, men are X, Y, Z. And I would say, but those men either are coming into or out of women. Clearly, we're the ones with the influence. So clearly, we're the ones who are training that. And so how are we training these, I love men, but these terrible men? Oh, well, we're training them by the absence of our expression. And so how do we begin to liberate this? And one of the things we were just talking about at lunch is your niece. And I love this idea. I thought we could just start because it starts young. And if we want, when we talk about women's liberation, we use a lot of words, right? And well, what do you mean by that? What's the definition of that? What does that mean to you, for women to be liberated, for women to be emancipated? And what my biggest argument is, we don't do the math. Like, we have these slogan ideas of what these deep-seated realities will be. And slogans don't make it for long. They don't actually have it be that somebody is free.